Well, hello and good afternoon again, everybody. For those of you that are just joining us, welcome to the Sea Otter exhibit. My name is Ariana, and I'm one of the naturalists here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium, and I'm being joined by my three friends from our otter care team, and they're going to be doing a feeding and training session for our three otters this afternoon. And let me go ahead and introduce you to the otters. Let's start out with the otter on the far right-hand side with my friend Jessica. That is our blondest otter, Ivy. And then right in the middle with my friend Courtney is our eldest otter, Rosa. And then on the left-hand side with Stephanie, she just dove down for a second there. There we go. That is Selka. She is our youngest and our resident brunette. And this training session utilizes a method called positive reinforcement, which means each of the otters are going to be asked to do different behaviors throughout this session. If they choose to do the behaviors they are asked, they will be rewarded or positively reinforced with some of their favorite food. You actually saw an example of one of those behaviors there. You saw Jessica asked Ivy to come out of the water and follow her up on the deck, and then she was asked to go back into the water. And since Ivy did choose to do that behavior, she was rewarded with that positive reinforcement. You can see one of our otters coming towards the windows there and hold her position. There we go. And by having the otters go up to the windows and hold their position and swim back, that also gives the otters a good chance to swim around to show their trainers their mobility and their bodies in the water. You may have seen Courtney holding that white buoy on a stick there. That is what we call a target. And each of the otters has been trained to touch their noses or to follow that target with their noses throughout different parts of the exhibit. And that allows each of our trainers to get a good look at their body and have the otters hold different positions. There we can see Selka coming up onto the deck there, and we also have we also have Ivy coming up onto the rockwork there. And by having the otters hop up onto the deck and the rockwork is a good area we like to have the otters go to either administer care, but get a good look at their body outside of the water. And with Selka in the middle, you see that she is receiving a syringe filled with some tasty clam puree. And that is what we call a husbandry or animal care behavior. Those are behaviors we have the otters do to help them in their day-to-day care. There will be times where we do have to use that syringe, whether it's on exhibit or behind the scenes, to administer medication or vitamins to our otters. So that's one of the reasons why we do these training sessions, is to form those very strong and trusting bonds between our otters and their caretakers here at the aquarium. And that way they can be voluntary participants in their care. So when the time comes for our trainers to use those tools that you see being used during this session, the otters are used to seeing them and they remain nice and calm. So what you're seeing today is actually a behind-the-scenes look at the day-to-day care and work we do with each and every one of our otters. And over with Rosa, you can see that she's getting her mouth checked, her nose, her paws, and even she'll get her back flippers and fur checked. And that is yet another example of a husbandry or animal care behavior. There are times where we do have to check up on certain parts of our otters to make sure that they are nice and healthy. And sometimes if an otter chooses to not do those behaviors, that is totally fine. It takes a lot of time and patience to work with our otters and to build those trusting bonds and relationships. So if an otter chooses to not do a behavior, that's totally fine. They will go ahead and redirect and try again. I did mention a husbandry or animal care behavior, but there's also another type of behavior we will have the otters do, and that is called an enrichment behavior. And enrichment behaviors are things we have the otters do to help them in their day-to-day care, to keep them both physically and mentally stimulated while they're on exhibit. Gives them something new and different to do, and it even allows them to practice natural behaviors that they would have out in the wild. Sometimes we will ask otters to go down to the bottom of the exhibit to retrieve one of their leftover toys and bring it back up to their trainers. That is just one example of an enrichment behavior. And there we can see some more targeting behavior with Selka. Whoop. There we go. So I did mention before that it does take a lot of time and patience, so sometimes our trainers do have to redirect and try that behavior again, which is totally fine. But it's one of the reasons why we do these training sessions. And another reason why we do these training sessions with our otters is otters eat a lot of food. They eat about 25% of their body weight every day. If any of us were to eat like an otter, we would have to eat about 20 large pizzas all by ourselves. Do you have any takers for that eating challenge? I got off my lunch break, so I'm totally fine. Oh, I see a couple hands being raised over there. But pizza's not on the menu for otters. Instead, they feed on a wide variety of shellfish and invertebrates out in the wild. It's animals without a backbone and a hard shell. Here at the aquarium, we'll give our otters a combination of clam, shrimp, and squid, and even some of that clam puree inside that syringe that you see Selka receiving again there. And all of that food is weighed out and divvied up amongst our otters, and then it's placed inside those little silver buckets that you see attached to the trainer's hips. And when our otters are on exhibit, we will actually give them the soft and squishy parts of their food. Because out in the wild, otters are tool users. They use their strong jaws, sharp teeth, and even rocks to break open the hard shells of their prey. And we learned the hard way that whenever we did give the otters their food with the shells still on, their favorite tool ended up being the exhibit windows you're looking through. They ended up scratching and scuffing that soft acrylic with those hard shells and rocks, and it made it hard for people to see inside the exhibit. So we learned our lesson. We'll give them the soft parts of their food when they're on exhibit, but we still want them to practice that natural foraging and feeding behavior. That is where their enrichment toys come in. So for my friends hanging out on the first floor of this exhibit, you may be seeing some of those toys scattered in the rockwork there. And those toys would be filled with different pieces of food. And sometimes we'll even freeze their food in those toys or even in ice blocks. That way the otters are able to bang those up against the windows to their heart's content without damaging the windows. And the otters get to practice that natural foraging and feeding behavior. And it makes window maintenance a little easier on us. There we can see Rosa getting her back flippers, her tail, and her tummy fur checked over on the right-hand side. And that is yet another husbandry or animal care behavior. And fur health is very important for an otter. Otters have the densest fur in the animal kingdom. They have 1 million hairs per square inch. And to put that into perspective, that is like taking all of the fur off of one house cat or a German Shepherd, your choice, and putting all of that food or all that fur on one postcard stamp. That is 1 square inch of an otter. And in order to keep their fur coats nice and healthy, they will spend 3 to 5 hours every day grooming. And I'm glad that my hair care routine is not that long. So after the feeding, you might notice some of our otters take part in those grooming behaviors. And there we saw, looks like one of our otters, looks like that was Selka, touched her paws up onto that wall, and then she was asked to go inside that fun little bucket filled with water and ice. And those are yet another husbandry or animal care behavior, but also an enrichment behavior. By having the otters place their paws up on the wall, that gives their trainers a chance to look at their body and to examine them. And then when she was asked to go inside that bucket, that just is a fun little area we like to have the otters go. Gives them something new and different to do. And I know I was talking about the enrichment toys a little earlier, but we also give them enrichment objects. So that bucket full of ice water is one of those enrichment objects. And you might be seeing another one, and I'm talking about that green car wash kelp that you see on the deck there. And there we go. Looks like our trainers went ahead and gave our otters a big handful of food so that way they can enjoy the rest of their lunch at their leisure. But that does mark the end of this training session. However, if you do want to catch more fun here at the aquarium when it comes to otters, definitely head across the way to our auditorium because we will be having a showing of Luna, a sea otter story at 3:30. Get to learn about our sea otter rescue program that we have on site here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium. And each of our otters have and are surrogate mothers for any rescue pups that come through our Sea Otter Rescue Program. So if you do want to learn about that, again, it's going to be at 3:30, and I highly recommend it. But once again, my name is Ariana. I'm going to go ahead and hop off microphone. But if you do have any questions about our otters, the training session, or want to know where you can catch even more otter fun here at the aquarium, feel free to come up and see me. I am hanging out on the second floor mezzanine, and I'm more than happy to chat. But if you are ready to move on and continue exploring, thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you continue to have an utterly awesome day here at the Monterey Bay Aquarium.